Welcome back to the Amai podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. This is one of actually a 3-part series this time, and every episode is amazing. I brought on Marilyn Bazinet, and she gives such amazing wisdom, such incredible encouragement, and you can't help but just feel like a better person when you're listening to her. In this first episode, we go into how powerful the stories are that you are telling yourself as a mom, and it can truly make or break your experience in motherhood. Let's hear from her. Welcome back to the podcast. We have Marilyn Bazinet here, and I'm so grateful that you're willing to join us tonight. You are a wealth of knowledge, and you are one of the most passionate people I know. And I am just thrilled that you're willing to come and talk to us.
Thanks so much.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a brief intro.
I guess just shortly, I grew up in a family of 11 children, so I'm number 7 of 11. And actually, it's kind of funny. My job growing up was I was a nanny for these 3 adorable girls.
Oh, cute.
I did that for years and just really enjoyed it. And I went to school, ended up getting a master's in marriage, family, human development. And actually 3 days after I finished that project, my first child was born.
Oh, that's a quick turnaround.
It was a quick turnaround. My professors sort of laughed because they looked at me waddling into my, thesis defense, and they're like, "So, how much longer do you have?" I'm like, I got like 2 weeks. I got like all the time in the world, And they're like,
You're right.
Yeah, I think we're good here. I think this thesis looks amazing. Anyway,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So
what was that transition like? You're, right up doing your master's, and then boom,
that was
baby.
Actually, completely blindsided me, which was kind of funny, and it was very, very difficult for me, and I was not expecting that. I felt like I'd come from not only a big family culture, and here I was working as a nanny, and then then studying it in school, and it just completely rocked me.
Really?
And it was just a real challenge on the level of me feeling like, in my young mind, why did no one tell me about this?
Oh, why didn't someone prep you?
How could I?
better?
Yeah, why was I so totally unprepared? And what was going on? How could I? What was I supposed to compare it to, or what was I supposed to? How was I supposed to understand this? Where was success coming from? It was so rough to go from, I'm going to classes, I'm teaching, I'm working with professors, I'm building these things and studying, and I'm kind of a productivity junkie.
Okay.
A little bit.
I'm not surprised.
I just like that feeling of I've got this going on over here, and at the same time, so
Yes.
on the home level, it's like the washer's running, dinner's already in the crock pot, I'm outside and I'm weeding, and kids are playing, and I'm interacting a bit, but I've got a podcast, I got my book going on. Yeah, it just feels like, woo, this is so fun. I'm learning and growing, but I'm also connecting, whatever.
Yes. Anyway. Things are going on in the background.
Yeah, right. Yeah, things are just coming together, and good things are happening. And so
when you have a baby, something about life just all stands still.
Yeah, everything's hurting. I was just trying to figure out nursing, and I'm a girl that's done hard things, and I was committed to nursing, and it was a good thing, and yet I was like, I can't. It felt like everything was exploded, right?
Really?
Like my nipples are cracked and bleeding. I can't figure out this nursing thing. I'm staring at the clock, and I'm like, okay, I can give this 3 minutes, and just kind of my crotch was blown out, and I'm not sleeping, and I don't know if it's day or night, and it wouldn't matter, whatever it was, because we're not leaving the house. It was in the cold of, the dark of winter. And every doctor's like, if anyone touches you or looks at you, then your baby's going to get RSV, and you're going to come right back here, and we're going to put her in an incubator. And just having had no experience, I had no context to put anything into. And I just didn't know how long this was going to last. Or is this normal? Is this about right? Or like,
was this supposed to come at this big of a shock? And how, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of rocked my sense because I had done some hard things.
Yes.
And I was like, why is this feels insurmountable, but isn't this every day? Like, doesn't everyone do this?
Do moms do this all the time?
Isn't this like how, this is how it goes, right? But why does it feel
so hard?
And it just rocked my sense of of self, of thinking of myself as someone who can do hard things. And yet I came up against this everyday kind of experience, and I was...
And it was hard.
I didn't know. There's so much I didn't know, so many firsts, and didn't really feel like I had a mentor exactly in all of these things I was experiencing.
To really guide you through that. So what did you do like at that point?
It's funny. My initial thought was, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to reach out to all of these different moms. And I made an interview instrument, and I went to Storytime at the library and found all these moms of new children and was like, hey, would you mind, participating in this? And anyway, so I was going to write a book and have it be like, this is people's experience. So if you're somewhere from
in this,
yes, then just feel a part of our sisterhood. Okay. Just feel like that you're known, you're seen, you're understood, and that you're having an experience that you'll be somewhere in here. And wherever you are in here, in all of these moms' experiences, then that's just about right. Yeah, it's okay to have that kind of experience.
And you belong.
Yeah, yes.
You're doing it.
Welcome, sister. And it's okay. It's okay if this is like I finally have come to myself, and this is my calling and what I was born for. And I don't have any idea what is going on.
I'm doing.
It's kind of the idea of like
anywhere you fall.
You're sending me home from the hospital? Like, why? Why do you think I can do this? Why did you trust me? Like, aren't they just tiny? Like, if I touch them, aren't they gonna get my germs? I'm just... I don't know why you think I can do this. It's just kind of that mentality of like... Yes. I just got so scared with all of the RSV talk and not knowing anything. And
that's terrifying. It's honestly, I feel similarly where it's like, but wait, I've done big challenges and I've lived across the world by myself and learned languages and done things and really pushed my limits as a human because I love the challenge. Yeah. And then I remember the same thing, and it's like, how can, this beautiful, sweet, amazing, innocent child evoke so much fear of what did I just do? And I think it's that, for me, I think what I realized is it was this depth of responsibility that was she's mine. I want to do everything I can for her and her success, but that pressure, right? It's for me, it's hey, if I fail, it's fine. But I'm but I don't want to fail for her, It's,
and being new, it's inevitable, right? Don't you just feel how am I supposed to be good at this? Where's success? How can I feel successful? I almost can't even really function unless I'm seeing that there's in some way that my efforts are doing something, even if it's I'm failing, but I'm failing a little less, and so that's
how did you find that in motherhood? What did you do? Because motherhood is it's the long game, right?
It is the long game.
So what did you
do? Something that really was powerful for me was to own my story, and it's the power of story for me. Someone described it this way: whatever's going on that you could record it in a video camera. Okay. That's what's going on, right? That's the fact. That's the situation, right? For example, I would say something like, for example, someone walks into the room on the video camera and she says, I don't want to play with you anymore. These two kids, right? For example. And then she turns around and she walks right back out of the room.
Okay.
Everything after that experience for the person she was talking to, for example, is all a story. And we own that story completely.
Okay.
And so if I were to say to myself, and I'm standing there and I had that experience, I could say to myself, wow, she's really having a hard time. I wonder what I can do to help her. You know, I bet her parents hate me and told her that we can no longer hang out. It could be, you know, that thing I said last week that was so unkind. She's probably just
Like still
just so
ruminating
angry,
on it.
right? And on and on and on. As many stories as there are people, I'm making meaning out of something. But what actually happened was, what the video camera can record, is that she walked in, said those words, turned around and walked out. That's what I know. After that, it's a part of my agency, my heart, my story. And that story is a choice.
Yes. And it's like, what are you telling yourselves? And a lot of that is the filters that we've created in our lives.
Right. And so one thing I used to sing to Jacqueline when she was...
Really quick, tell us how many kids you have.
Oh, I have 4.
Okay,
yeah. And so my oldest, I used to sing to her when she was growing in my belly. And we'd just be driving, you know, by ourselves kind of thing. And I would just sing to her. And I changed the words to one of my favorite songs. And it's, I love my baby Jack. Oh. She is the best thing ever. And I would just, you know, sing to her, you know. Beautiful. And I just knew I had all these visions, like, we're going to be besties. We are going to be best friends. And I had, you know, I have 7 sisters and roommates, and I was a nanny for these 3 girls. And I just, like, I get girls, you know, and I was just so concerned. I'm like, I just know I'm going to have like 7 boys until I can finally have a girl. And I'm going to be like alone, and they're going to be like hunting. And like, this is my tiny mind, right? And we just like walked out of that first ultrasound, and it was a girl, and I was like clicking my heels, and I'm like, honey, good job. And he's like, what? And I explained like the X and Y chromosome, you know, like he has a business mind. So he didn't he wasn't in the like,
quite get that
X
side
and
of
Y,
it.
yeah, that whole genetic business. And anyway, I was just so thrilled, and I knew we were like tight from the beginning. And
that's beautiful.
And she came, and she had a really hard time sleeping, and she had like a sore stomach. And
did she have colic?
Yeah, so she's like crying.
And you're first, and you had colic, as your first baby,
right?
Oh,
right.
That's
so like
rock.
neither of us were sleeping. No one was sleeping. And I took it to mean, I took that story to mean that she was not accepting of me. Like she was rejecting me, that like as a mom, I wasn't doing a good job. I wasn't being successful. And I mean, I'm like extending out, right? So look, a little postpartum, right? Imbalances, hormonal, whatever.
Yes.
And I didn't understand the power of story and the choice of story. And so I took it all to mean we're not going to be friends. Like I'm going to be loving and working and serving, but it's just like not going to be good enough because she's just not happy. Like I'm giving everything
I can, and she's
not comfortable. She's not happy. She's not sleeping. Like I don't know how to do this. It's not working. Like I'm not successful. I'm failing us already. You know what I mean?
And that's so hard. And right now it's like, we can laugh about that because we've been in that situation, but in the moments, it is this like, in what other ways do you give more of yourself? And when you feel like you're failing, doesn't hurt that bad, right? You know, where it's like, what else could I do, you know?
Right. And so she's now actually, let's fast forward the tape. She's now this beautiful human, and I was chatting with her on the phone the other day, and I said, you know what? I super wish that I could go back. I'd love to redo those young baby years with you. You know, I would just love to be me right now, knowing what I know and having the experience and what I call mountain legs. Like you get your muscle. Like life is a muscle. Every skill that you develop in yourself is a muscle that you just keep practicing. And in the practice, you become stronger. Yes. And then it becomes a knee-jerk reaction, right? It just becomes...
It becomes easier and easier.
Easy.
Yeah.
It's so wild. It's like you have one baby and you're like, I can't leave the house.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. What am I going to do? Pick up the dry cleaning? Like, what if she just like freaks out? Like, what am I going to do? I don't even know. Like, I can't leave.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, I just have one baby? Did you just walk out with 3 children? It's just me and my infant?
Like, hey, we got this.
I can do anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
so
it's
cute.
just...
Oh, see, I'm the youngest in my family. And I remember my daughter, I was with my sister who has 4. She has 5 boys. At the time, she had 4 boys. And we were in the car together. And my daughter, as like a 1-month-old. And she's flipping. Like, freaking out. My heart is through the roof. My cortisol levels are like all out of whack. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, Donna. And she just looked at me and she's like, man, Aurora, there's been times all 4 of my boys are crying at one time. Like, it's okay. And I was like, right, she's actually okay with this, isn't she? Like, it was this like, she's not even stressed. Like, this isn't even like, there's no point of like even concern in her. And I was like, what do I do? And it's just so real. It is so real. That transition it's so a thing.
Amazing to
mountain
see,
legs. I like that. I like that. Like
growth.
Yeah.
My sister was saying, that she was in a car ride recently on a road trip, and a friend was with them, and she was saying how stressed out the friend was, single, no children.
Okay.
And she's like, Marilyn, the little kids weren't even bad. Like, they were fine. Like, they were like whining for maybe like a second or something. But anyway, I was like, isn't that awesome? Like
that you've built that resilience.
Look at us. We're growing. Like, you don't always see it, you know? But to see that and be like, oh yeah, see, that was us. Yeah. And it's the growth is just so cool, that not to toot our own horns, but just to say, like, we are growing. We are developing those muscles. That muscle of perspective, of long game, of kindness, of patience, of grace for ourselves and others. Like Elizabeth says, she just says, big butter spreads of grace for ourselves and others. And
I've thought about that a lot. I love that. So how did you get from this point where you're like, I am failing, to where you are now? What did that journey look like for you?
I guess it was so much. It was just such a long journey. Let me jump back really fast to my daughter when I was on that phone call with her. Yeah. I'm like, Jack, I'm just, man, I just wish I could redo it, you know? And she says right away, without even thinking it, she's like, Mom, I'm just celebrating that you jumped in and just got started. Like, you just signed up for it, showed up, did it, knowing jack squat, you know? And I'm like, what? Look at that wisdom.
That's so true.
Like, here I am.
Like, wishing you could go wishing back for those.
Yeah. Longing for or regretting the impossible. Right? Like, I'm saying, I wish that I had my mountain legs when I stood there at the foot of the mountain. Not possible. Yeah. It is a philosophical impossibility. Yeah. You cannot have the muscles.
Yeah. You have to start somewhere.
That it takes to get up the mountain without actually
getting up the mountain.
Doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm here, the impossible. Like, what? It was never meant to be that way. It was. Right. That's not even a thing. It's not even a thing. And here she is, just all she can see, her story, her meaning frame is, look what you did. Look at the hard you said yes to.
And look how it grew.
And what it meant to her in particular, right? She's the one who's saying it, but I'm just like, wow, that changes everything from the meaning frame of regret or sadness into complete celebration. Like, let's just celebrate
the whole journey, not just the goods, the whole thing, because the whole thing is what's creating you in your strength as a woman.
Right.
That's what it is.
Not just me, but like she as the direct recipient, right? Like me saying, oh, I just wish I could have done better, been different, but you cannot do it. Yeah. And so even my imperfect efforts that is the journey. That is the way. That is the celebrating. That is the opportunity to keep growing those muscles, and also to offer myself and others grace and love and all the things that really matter and that really change us from a shriveled up, lesser version of ourselves, always worried about ourselves, inwardly focused, miserable and empty, to someone who has had that experience, those lived experiences inside of empathy, sympathy, growth, service, kindness, love, sacrifice, everything that makes for a whole and full and real life.
And what better way to do that than being a mom?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know a way that does it more deeply or fully or completely than being a mom.
The investment, right? The love and the care.
And I think right now in our world, what we're seeing people try really hard to get mountain legs without doing the effort. Like that's the goal right now, right? It's like, okay, what can I do to get there without putting in the effort, sacrifice, work to get to that result? And it's like, oh, but that fulfillment that you get as a human comes from the effort.
That's right.
That's it. It comes from the sacrifice. That's why you cannot help but love the people that you serve. It's because that's the sacrifices there.
And it's a cultural theme, right?
Yeah.
Like my friend calls it affluenza. Just kind of this idea that the culture in which we live, like we are living the effects of prosperity, many of us. And the popular culture being swung that way toward, if I can't have it in an instant, then I'm just not interested. Right. Like I can, anyway, we understand, right?
Yes.
Microwaves and ibuprofen and whatever, like there's a thing for it, right? Like
right.
I've got a pill or a whatever.
If I'm uncomfortable solution. Or non-entertained,
right? Oh,
there's something wrong.
Yes, the instant gratification of the the virtual world and the everything like that.
Right, and it's really sadly not helping. Even though people think like, oh, I mean, is it giving them major dopamine hits? Yes, but it's not helping them be fulfilled as a human. Right. And then I think that's why a lot of people are like, wait a minute, I'm not happy. And it's like, well, what about this or this or this or this? But what they're really trying to communicate is I'm unfulfilled. There's something deep inside of me that I'm not fulfilled, and I don't know how to find that.
Yeah.
So interesting. Wow. What your daughter said, that was just like profound. That was profound.
I thought about it so much, and it changes me in how I approach the stories that I have about myself and others. Like I just say, almost in any situation, what is the good here? What is going right? That's one of my favorite stories. My sister was going to a marriage counselor, and like super big dollars, big time dollars. And he would sit you down, and on your dime, he'd start out with, what's working? And I'm like, that is huge. Like, what if you could live life like that? What if you could live life?
Yeah.
And just every day.
Instead of wrong. Because that's what we're seeing, right? What is going wrong? Instead of changing that filter, what is going right? And what you look for, you'll find, right?
What is going right here? And to just lift it off, like to just list it off, to celebrate it, to point it out, to focus on it. Anything you focus on grows. Yeah. And so if you can focus on the good, it's just going to grow. Play to your strengths.
Yes.
Like, how do I do more of what I love? Yes. My mom used to read to us all the time, and we were talking about this kind of recently, and she's like, yeah, and you know why we were reading, right? I'm like, huh.
Why?
Tell me. She goes, 'cause I was ready for a book, because I wanted to read. Oh. I wanted to learn and grow. And so how do we do it? We do it out loud together, because that's just, and it was just like a togetherness thing. And anyway, she just created a way.
I love that.
If you just create a way.